You just finished an audition and you think you did well. The casting director turns to you and says, "Vinnie, well done. You got the part." That's not how it works. As an actor, you don't get much feedback. So let's talk about that. Coming up next on The Starting Actor. As an actor learning my trade, naturally I am taking classes, and in those classes I have instructors, and as you would expect, those instructors give me feedback. They tell me that I'm doing well or where to improve, and so on. So naturally, and not thinking about it too much, I sort of expected that same experience to occur when I'm doing auditions and when I'm working on set. Well, working on set, you do get feedback, but we'll come to that in a moment. When you're in an audition, you have to think about what that situation is. You are in a job interview, and you don't really have a relationship with that person yet. It's a new business relationship that you're interviewing for, and you're trying to get the job. You're taking an audition. And so naturally you can think that, or you can imagine that when a casting director is letting you know, thank you for coming in, they're probably not going to give you some feedback in the moment as to how you did. And that's normal and should be expected. So, how do we deal with that? Well, there isn't a science about this as far as I'm aware, but here are some of my experiences. What I've had to do is I've had to learn to do a couple of things. The first thing is to internalize and to try to remember my own performance. Not the details of it, but just the general feeling. How did I do? Did I do something silly? Did I hit my marks? Did I say all my lines as I wanted to? And how was the performance? Was I connected with my reader, which is often difficult, but think and kind of internalize that information as you're going through it. And then in the aftermath, you can think about, how did I do? So there's an example that I always remember about this, and it's a cautionary tale, I suppose. And that was an audition in which I thought I did well. The performance itself was pretty good. I didn't get the part, so judge that for what it is. But what I remember about my interactions with the casting directors is that I was creepy. I don't know what came over me. I was just weird and creepy, and if I was looking to hire somebody to be my actor, I would think that, well, that Vinnie guy, yeah, he may be a decent actor, but yeah, he's a little weird. Another thing that you can start to do is to learn to read subtle human cues from the casting directors. It's a good skill to have anyway. As an actor, you want to be able to read the cues of your partner across from you and to play off of those. Well, use that technique and that skill here for casting directors. Just generally observe, how did they react? Were they smiling? Were they looking away? Were they not paying attention? Were they taking notes madly and furiously, or no notes at all? Right? Some of those things can tell you something about how the audition went. It's up for interpretation because everybody does things differently. If somebody's scribbling notes madly, maybe that's to say they're writing, "No, please don't ever hire this guy," or "Please, yes, do hire this guy because he's awesome." It's impossible to know, but try to read something from it. And by the same token, online auditions also end up with a lack of feedback. You create your self-tape, you submit it into the ether, and the casting director watches it, and you hear crickets. You hear nothing. There is no feedback whatsoever. What can you take from that? Well, you can take from the fact that you didn't get the part, that's for starters, but what can you change to make it better? That's up to you. That's for you as the actor to figure out. It's not the casting director's job to tell you what you're doing wrong. It's for you to improve, to understand what it is that you're doing that can be improved, and to go from there. At the end of the day, a lack of feedback during an audition is just something that you have to deal with. It's something to be aware of and not to be concerned with because it's completely normal. It would be very rare where a casting director will tell you that you did a great job and they want to call you back for a callback audition, a second audition immediately. It does happen, but it is rare. So It just is what it is. A lack of feedback, however, is not universal. If you are so lucky to get the part in the audition, then you will be working with a director on set. If the director likes what you're doing, they'll either say yes, keep going, or if they say nothing, that may also mean yes, keep going. Just keep that in mind. But often a director will say, well, that was great, let's try this other thing. They will act much in the same way as your instructor will, because they will want to encourage you. They don't want to bash you and make you think that your performance is bad. They will always encourage you, but they may ask you to go in a different direction. Now, one of the things that I have noticed is that as I've been working with directors, most of the time these days I'm working with beginners, such as myself, with students who are working who are creating films for their film schools. But I have worked with some independent directors. Generally speaking, the more experienced the director is, the more likely you are to get some feedback. So for example, I did a student film recently in which the director basically didn't say anything to me. He said, well, no, he didn't say anything. So what I took from that, just from experience, is that I should just keep going, because if he had something negative to say, or that he wanted me to do it in a different way, then he would have said so. But he didn't, and so my interpretation is keep going with it. Now, of course, it could be that the director is just, as a student themselves, unsure how to deal with that potential human conflict if they did say something negative or redirected you. But frankly, from my 2 cents as an actor, hopefully your casting director will have made a correct decision about personality as well. It's not only about the actor's performance during a casting situation, an audition situation. The casting director needs to make sure that you as an actor is also a decent human being, and that they're not going to have a nightmare working with you on set, right? So assuming that that's been done, the director should, in my mind, be open and honest with you at all times and just give you the feedback that you need, because as we know, as an actor, it's helpful. That has been my experience working in the industry. I wonder if you guys have had some different experiences. If you have, let us know in the comments below, and let me know what you think about my own experience. Is it normal? Is it strange? What is it? All right. That's it for another episode of The Starting Actor. I am Vinnie Horst, and if you enjoyed what you saw here today, then consider subscribing, and we will see you next time.